Ooh. So at last I've got round to doing some of these, 10 on a strip. Warlord Games, ACW Epic Scale plastic figures, which I think are great, uh, because they're all in close order and they're joined at the arm or whatever. So they've got, well, they're just great as kind of background figures. So I've kept them kind of dull, but I wanted them to be a bit paler in grey. So I may just, once I've done a few more, say a unit, I haven't done the rear rank yet, they're next. So I didn't want to put too much vivid detail on them. The detail kind of reveals itself anyway, because I just, well, once I spent a few hours trimming them and fettling them. Oh, and the bloke on the left, his legs snapped off. I still haven't found it. He could be a peg leg, I suppose, or just as easy to do a replacement lower leg, foot, boot. Well, I could give him a bare foot, I suppose. And yes, well, I haven't varnished them yet, so they're just the plastic. Then I put some spirit-based matte varnish on, which is what I usually use to prime everything at the moment. Just brush it on. I think it's Windsor and Newton, something like that. In a jar, or it used to be. So that's the primer, and they're already a light grey colour, which is handy. I wish I'd kept them a bit lighter though, because I want them to be right at the back of my diorama, but kind of half of them fading into the diorama, but sorry, the backdrop, because they'll be touching the backdrop at an angle with their left flank. And I think the detail's pretty amazing, considering they're only, 13.5mm or something tall. Definitely very passable. I may attempt to put shiny bayonets on at some point, if they'll stay on. I remember doing that for some Redoubt figures, about 80 of them, making individual bayonets because they didn't have them, right shoulder shift. God, that took a long time. Well, actually, it took about an hour to do each one, I think. Out of, it was just some pie dish, aluminium pie sort of tray thing, which is a bit better than silver foil, which is just a bit too thin. Yes. Oh, and here's a first for me. I haven't done the backs, because I'm just going to keep those in shadow, because the sunlight's going to be coming sort of from, well, the direction of the gun barrel that you can see there, that thing. So that's the sun direction. So they look more illuminated on one side from one side than they do the other. But I wish I'd made them a bit lighter grey still, to sort of imply more in the distance, and gun smoke as well. Black powder smoke would be making them appear more grey. Of course, things get lighter and lighter in shade as they go further away. I don't know if it is the case for these. I'm not going to be, they're going to be right at the back of the diorama, so let's focus. A bit too brown for my I don't know, I can get them all in line and spray them right at the end very gently with some grey from their left flank. Once they've done the company, I'll probably make it about oh, sorry. I'll do another 6 of these for now, hopefully. So that'll be 60 figures, which is a feasible sort of size for a Confederate company towards in the last year of the war, more or less. Well, sorry. It was almost the anniversary of the Battle of Franklin, actually. I should know this. I think it's tomorrow, the 30th. I seem to remember it was December the next day. Yes. Still, considering these were free with War Games Illustrated, War Games Illustrious, I call it. God, I mean, they're just very, very good figures for the size, and the fact that I think it's just almost genius the way that whoever thought of putting them on strips of 10 and joining them together. I think they should get an award, really. They're that good and impressive and easy to sort of paint. I think, yes, as I said, well, once I'd got the primer on, it was a light grey plastic. I just used pens to dab on it, and then I sort of brushed it off to try and lighten it. They're still too dark, I think, though. Yes. So, how exciting to have been able to do 10 figures, like totally acceptable figures for, for a diorama. They've all got good faces, and, they're going to be looked at from a distance. So nothing like that's going to matter. And they look very convincing, I think. Really. It's a shame one or two of the figures have got their rifled muskets at a different position. But there's only one of them at the right end, sorry. He's decided to, what do they call that? Slope arms? I can't remember. Something like that. Still. So there is some colour there, a little bit. It's mostly browns and greys, dark greys, light greys, a bit of blue, a bit of red, sort of tan colour. And I haven't used any metallics because they would just look too obvious. Just do it with sort of yellow pens, any brass bits. Still, good enough. And they're sort of shadowed behind by the sun. Anyway, right. Do another 5 of them, hopefully. What a bargain. What a fine addition to any diorama or, well, War Games table, definitely. What a brilliant idea. Shame they haven't got bayonets, but you can't have everything. But yes, and they look anatomically quite good as well. They're not too stocky, little fat, like most figures. Big clown trousers often. Huge amounts of excess material to remove before painting. Which takes, God knows how many hours each figure. This is great. Speed units, sort of. It should be quicker as I do at the next one, hopefully. Following that. Oh, I haven't done the flags. I've got to varnish them, matte varnish them. They're still too shiny with the ink, but then I've got to stick some flags on. I'll just do some sort of suggestions of flags with a bit of colour in the highlighted areas from the sunlight. Right, I've gone on too long. Bye.